Do you want to know the best battle line to defend against the onslaught of the barbarian hordes and the Greek scum? Want to know how as the barbarians that you can set up an incredibly offensive strategy against the Romans from turn number 1? Stay tuned to find out more. My fellow Romans, are you bored through? We're bored through, and here at Bored Through, we're all about the gameplay. And today we're going to continue with our strategy guide for Rome Total War, the board game. And today we're going to look at a strategy called the Palisade, and in particular how it is that these particular regions function as a pivot point for what's going to be taking place within the rest of the map. And in particular, the regions that we're going to focus on today are these ones here. Oh, didn't quite get all that in, but you can see which ones I'm looking at. These are the ones that we want to focus on as our Palisade, because as you can see, just taking a look at the geography around it, it is protected on 3 sides by these mountains here, and on the other side of those are regions with an awful lot of terrain. And then on this side, this is where your gap is really, but you can see that it's also protected by regions that have terrain there that also function as a deterrent, particularly when fighting the Greeks who don't have great units for fighting on hills. But you can see, as I said, that these 3 regions themselves, they've got a little bit of terrain. So the way that we can take advantage of this is going to be different for each of the different factions. So in particular, this is going to be a strategy that the Romans and the barbarians will be able to make the best use of. So let's start with the barbarians. So what you can actually see is that from turn number 1, starting down here, you've actually got the opportunity that you can move your army. If I can just get the right tool, you can actually move your army down into here, and then you've got a choice. You can go down or you can go across. But these are the things that you can do. If you've got an agent card that gives you an extra movement point, you've actually got the opportunity to be able to go after all of these. Because what you can go 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you get 3 usually. So 1, 2 to get into here, and usually you could go then for one or the other. But if you have the force march card, then you've got the opportunity that you could actually go and capture all 3 of these regions. The only thing is just the state of your army afterwards, given potentially how many units you might lose in that respect. And why would you want to do something like this? Well, in particular, it sets up that battle line with the Romans and hems them in to a spot which is going to be really difficult for them to push out of. In particular, in the early game, the Romans don't have great units for fighting in the hills, and this is where the Highlander, the army, the Barbarian army that has the Highlander units in it are going to be fantastic to go in and to push into this territory and make it very, very very difficult for the Romans to try and dislodge them if they were to go up against them in one-to-one combat. And the advantage of doing this is that by creating this line here, you actually encourage the Romans to advance towards the south and towards the east of the map, because you've kind of set a line here, and it allows you as the barbarians potentially to be able to come away from here and then focus on gathering up some of these regions up here, and that gives you free reign of the center of the map, and potentially an opportunity to gain an awful lot of territory very quickly after that. The other thing as well is that, as I said, it acts as a deterrent for the Greeks. That's for the barbarians and for the Romans. So that's an advantage there in both respects that way. I really like this strategy. It's a very bold strategy. That's the only thing to say. It's a very risky strategy. And the other thing you have to keep in mind as well, that if the Romans get the Marian reforms and they get those auxiliary units who can fight really well in the hills, then that's going to mean that you're going to have to pull back from here and be very cautious. about your relationship with the Romans. If they don't invest in that, if you're playing with someone who maybe doesn't realise that kind of advantage that they can get there by doing the Marian reforms, then this is definitely one to try out. But if they are switched on, they want to get these territories back, and they go for those reforms, you've just got to be careful. Make sure you get that army back out and get it replenished again very, very quickly, because you don't want to get stuck out here and annihilated very early on in the game, and then that leaves you exposed. That's the only thing. If you go into direct combat and perhaps the second, maybe even the first turn, the first, second, or third turn, that's going to be really bad. So you want to get in there, capture these regions, and then get back out again, even if that is just coming back to your home region and using that as your security force. So that's how the barbarians can take advantage of that. Now let's take a look what that would look like for the Romans. So the Romans, once again, they have the opportunity that they can advance towards the north. They can do this straight off of the, do this straight from the get-go. All they have to do is decide, do they want to go straight into here or into here or into here, and they do have the opportunity that they could capture all three of these regions in that first turn. You might want to consider actually advancing out this way as well, because as you can see that you've still got some territory there, so this functions really, really well as extending that palisade. It also denies the Greeks the opportunity to move up into here particularly quickly. So once again, that means that you're that you're actually kind of holding that ground. You've got the opportunity, you can come up and to take that there. And so just holding the Greeks back here, because once again, the terrain really putting them off. You've also got down here in either the anchor there, the port, which you can also take advantage of, which is really, really useful. So you could even consider extending the palisade down into here, but in particular, that's where you want to have your palisade. If you do this as the Romans, on the flip side, you've got to be cautious about the barbarians coming in with their Highlander units and wanting to attack you. So again, you've got to come up here and then be really, really cautious, actually, because if they come down and advance and want to fight you in the terrain and you've not got the best units to do that, then you've really got to think about, is this a good idea to actually advance into here? I think a lot of players, based on the history effect, this was historically Roman, and even in terms of the modern effect, it's like this is still part of modern day Italy, the descendants of the Romans. So a lot of people just kind of let you have it. And if that's the case, then that's absolutely great. That's absolutely fine. But if you're going to go into here and you're looking to expand outwards once again, taking on the barbarians, then you really need to think about what this terrain looks like. You can see lots and lots of very, very hilly terrain. And so you need to have really good units to be able to do that. So whether you're upgrading them using mercenaries, and perhaps because you're going to make a go for the sun in the first turn, that's another strategy. Take a look at that video that we've already covered that already, or that you've invested in some units which will allow you to move up into these areas. In particular, if you're putting in your skirmisher units, that should really help to be able to advance up this way. But like I said before, it's also a great way of just keeping the Greeks out. So you're using the natural advantage that is offered by the terrain and keeping them on that side of the line. The only disadvantage of that is that you don't want to keep yourself hemmed out of the place where you can get all the really, really good mercenaries. So you've got to watch out for that. But this is the Palisade, a great way of creating a defensive line for the Romans. Just make sure that you're picking the right units for going up into here. Make sure you're stacking that army out with your skirmishers. And also using your cavalry as well, particularly against the barbarians. That's the way that you're going to win it. It's likely that your units, your infantry units, are going to kind of lose the infantry battle, but between your skirmishers and between your cavalry, it's quite ironic talking about that the cavalry is going to function really, really well up here in the mountainous regions, but because the barbarians are a little bit short on their cavalry, and keep an eye on that as well in terms of the developments. Because they're short on their cavalry, it gives you the opportunity that you could take advantage of that, and if you win the skirmisher game and you win the win the flanking game with your cavalry. That could be the difference between victory and defeat, and the opportunity as to whether you're going to be able to expand outwards or if you're going to get stuck here with the Palisade, and potentially also having an army that is stuck here in the north of Italy because you can't leave it. So that has been the Palisade strategy. If that's been helpful to you, please do give this video a like. It really goes a long way and gets these ideas out, because I'm really trying to create a common set of ideas, a common set of themes, a common language that all of us strategists can use to be able to look at Rome Total War, the board game. Also, if you want to make sure that you're receiving these videos, check out the playlist that has all the strategies, but do subscribe to the channel because that way it's going to then get put into your feed so you don't have to come searching for me every single time. And the last thing is that if you're feeling generous and you want to make sure that your friends are informed, then go ahead and share this video. But if you'd like to keep these strategies to yourself, then maybe go ahead and not share it. And blow their minds with the strategies. So stay tuned in the future as we're going to do an overview of all of the Barbarian strategies and how it is that you could set up your game within the first turn, whether you're going first or whether you're going last. And so look out for that coming next week. But I'm going to say bye for now. And are you bored through? We are bored through. And here at Bored Through, we are all about the gameplay.